Oh no, this is so sad. There are a bunch of white Texas farmers who are losing their farms right now.
Texas just shut down overnight. Why? Because ICE raids made nearly 100% of the workforce completely vanish. People ran, got detained, or flat out got scared to death and never came back. Dairy farms are...
This is really bad.
Farm labor attendance, 0. Entire fields, whole crews are ghosting fields, leaving fruits and vegetables to rot because the Donald Trump administration is too busy playing cat and mouse with people who just want to feed America. To the MAGA people who are saying that immigrants are taking your job, this right here is your opportunity. Pick yourselves up by the bootstraps, get those buckets, and pick those strawberries.
Welcome back to Brilliance React YouTube channel, and today we are diving into a question that we think we know about race, class, and solidarity in America. Why are the white Texas farmers furious when their workers didn't show up to work? Now that they are desperate, looking for the black people to come and work for them. Kindly share your opinions and comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and thank you very much. Let's get into this video.
All right, MAGA, get out there. Where are you at? You got your jobs back. You got your jobs that were taken from you. Get out there. Get out there and start working. Get to work. America first. Get out there. 100% haven't shown up to work due to immigration raids, Texas farmer says. America's migrant workers are terrified to work, but unable to stay home. So get out there, MAGA. You got these jobs back. You took them back. You voted. You got your guy in there to get rid of all of those migrant workers. So get out there. Get out there and start working. But for real, I want to shout out to the undocumented migrant workers as they were deemed essential in 2020. They stepped up when this nation needed them most. They have my utmost respect. They should see a pathway to citizenship. Period. Period. They were deemed essential workers, risking their lives in one of the most hazardous jobs in the entire U.S. labor market. They have my full respect. Thank you for your service and your contribution to this country.
We're here. We are here at the FAFO stage. This is really bad. I'm just going to read this to you. Multiple Texas farms shut down after almost 100% of workforce vanishes overnight. In a stunningly swift overnight change, some Texas farm operations had to shut down after losing virtually all of their workforce, an exodus triggered by the increase in immigration raids and increased enforcement. The ripple effects of these raids are the gift that keeps on giving and will be felt nationwide. Unpicked crops are now left unharvested. Livestock were left untended, and rural economies are on edge. The story isn't just a tale of woe for Texas farms, it's a warning for American agribusiness, food prices, and communities that keep food on our plates. I need you to share this with every Republican you know. And you don't even need to wait for their response. They just need to know what's happening. And this is part of my line of work. I deal with commercial farmers, including these small farmers, as clients, and I cannot tell you how this is the beginning of the complete collapse of our economy under this Project 2025 administration that doesn't know what they're doing. You talk about the immediate shuttering of farms, because this is actually what's happening with the food, with the harvests that are lying there completely rotting. That is a loss of food to local food distributors, local grocery stores, local restaurants, hospitals. They sell their harvests, all sorts of vegetables, to businesses within the state of Texas. This is where you can go into your local grocery store and now you're going to see hardly any vegetables or fruit, depending on what they're growing, or a shortage of meat. This is what's going to happen. Now, all of the other industries that support farming, you've got local pesticide, herbicide, fertilizer suppliers that are just, their sales are going to plummet. These farmers aren't going to be purchasing that. You've got H-2A workers who are now gone, migrant workers who are now gone. They were paying taxes. Even if they didn't have social security numbers, they were given tax numbers, tax ID numbers. So now you got millions of dollars just poof, gone overnight from these Texas communities. You've got trucking companies that are hired to haul the produce from the farms to the packaging plants. You've got packaging plants who wash the vegetables, grade the vegetables, pack the vegetables, whose sales are going to plummet. Now you're going to have other industries who don't employ either migrant workers or H-2A workers who are going to have layoffs. This is all under Republican leadership, not just from the White House, but from the Republicans that were elected in the state of Texas. And if you think this is going to stop at Texas, you've got another thing coming. And you want to know which farms are going to be impacted further down the road? They're going to be safe for now. There's a small percentage of farmers who are actually Democrats. And they understand how important it is to protect their employees, take care of their employees. Those employees who feel safe will keep showing up for work because they know the owners have their backs, which says something about these other farms where the employees are like, I'm too scared to show up. Let me add this final thing. This is going to impact farmers. They're at risk of going out of business. Who's going to jump in? The federal government to compensate them with our tax dollars. So now our tax dollars is going to be used to cover the bullshit leadership of this administration on top of the overwhelming increasing tax dollars being used by this administration to scare, to deport, to imprison people with brown skin. Like, our tax dollars are not helping everyday Americans at all. And this is just the beginning under Republican leadership.
Multiple farms in Texas just shut down overnight. Why? Because ICE raids made nearly 100% of the workforce completely vanish. People ran, got detained, or flat out got scared to death and never came back. Dairy farms are in panic mode right now. Cows got to be milked every 8 hours. And guess what? Nobody's showing up to milk these fuckers, folks. This isn't some Texas problem either. This is happening across the entire nation. ICE isn't just out here enforcing some bullshit laws. They are actively crippling our food systems with fear and chaos. You want to talk about consequences? This ain't just about politics anymore, y'all. It's about what's on your table, what's in your fridge, or what's about to be missing from your fucking store. These Nimrods aren't saving America. They're starving it.
So I know I was talking about, the Latino vote before. The Viva vote for Donald Trump. Okay, well, let's get on to the white folks. The white farmers. So, word is out now that the white farmers voted for Donald Trump because they thought they were going to get Black Americans in the fields. Because they also thought Black folks did not have jobs. Put this all together. Somehow, the white farmers were convinced that Black folks don't have jobs. We don't work. we don't work. And so they voted for Donald Trump because they thought, okay, he gonna send them in the fields. So Donald Trump and them with the whole Project 2025 said, okay, so we got to make this happen. So we got to cut these DEI stuff, all this DEI stuff, to put Black Americans out of work. When in reality, they put a bunch of white folk out of work just to get Black folks out of work. And so all these cuts that are happening are to try and harm Black Americans so much till they think that we're going to go into the fields. Now, when you think about that, that makes you double back and see why they want the Latinos out. Because the Latinos, right, to them, they are reproducing entirely too fast, okay? And so they're like, we got to get them out of here because Black Americans don't reproduce as fast as the Latinos. Then the Black Americans can take their place in the field. This is for real. And so now you double back to the Black jobs. They're taking your job. Yes, you got to double back to what he said. They're taking Black jobs, y'all. Like, they have all this down. Like, they have all this whole circle. So now let's go back to the farmers if you're still with me, okay? Because the white farmers, that's what they believed was going to happen. So if y'all got all that straight, this is the message to the white farmers. The last thing you want is for Black Americans to be in your fields. Fool you. As a matter of fact, you might want to let the devil fool you to see what's going to happen. Well, I'm trying to tell you, the last thing you ever going to want Americans in your fields. Nah, I'm going to let you fill in the blank on that one. And this goes to show that they will go to any lengths. Remember I said that, first of all, we had the Latinos, some Latinos, not all of them, just them Cubans, them Cuban ones, talk about you're next, right? To Black Americans, so they thought we was immigrants, okay? And so now we have the white farmers who are still living in the 1700s, thinking back to glory days, quote unquote. They thought with their vote, we were going to the fields. So you got one group thinking they gonna kick us out of here, and you got another group of people thinking that we going to the fields. Now this right here is a real mental problem because people are literally stuck. I'm telling y'all, people are stuck in the 1700s when they think about Black Americans, okay? I'm telling you, their thought process, they sit around probably campgrounds and picnics and stuff and talk about how can we make this happen? That was their heyday. I'm telling you, when that freaking plantation house burned down in Louisiana, I think, right? That was their heyday. And I got torched, okay? I'm telling you, that broke them. But I just want to, I want to teach them a little bit more history if I have your attention, right? If I have your attention, right? This is some history that a lot of people don't know, okay? But y'all didn't know Black Americans had white servants? Y'all ain't know that? Spread or anything like that. But we had white servants. Yeah, and they wanted to be our servants because they needed work. They were coming over from Europe. Yeah, and they were docile too. Yeah, they were docile. And Black Americans, the aristocrats, the wealthy ones, because there were wealthy ones, okay? They had white servants. So I don't know if y'all ever see them pictures. Let me find a picture. I couldn't find a picture. I wasn't gonna go back and try to find a picture. But if you can horsemen or I'm not sure what you call them, coachmen or whatever. Yeah, he worked for them. Yes, indeed. It was a big thing. It was a big thing, when everybody began to see in the early 1900s, what? Black Americans, they use the other word. Black Americans have white servants. Yeah, that's a bit of history they don't like to put on TV. And the reason for it is because they were like, okay, they had, white people here that they could hire. And they also had Black people here that they could hire. But they felt that the white people from Europe were so docile And they were less expensive. Now, they weren't the only ones who thought that. The wealthy white people thought that too. The wealthy white people were like, yeah, we like the docile immigrant white people. They're a lot cheaper. They take less money. Yeah, so there's a bit of history for you. Black Americans a lot more. Lot more. So they always went for the immigrant. And see, when the Black Americans hired the white immigrants, they were like really, really like, yes, we will do it. Yes, we will do it. Because they want to stay in America. Here's the difference though. Black Americans didn't mistreat them. Anyway, that's just a little side note. But yeah, to the white farmers again, this is the last thing you want. The last thing you want is for Black Americans to be out in your fields. The last thing you want. Trust and believe. And next time, you know what? Stop basing your vote on how to harm Black Americans, because you're going to end up running into that wall that's going to tumble. Okay? That's what's going to end up happening. Stop doing that. All of you do it. Like, all of you. You had the conservative Asian Americans coming through with the whole Ivy League school. We don't want Black Americans there. Then you had the I will vote for Donald Trump Cubans, okay, who were thinking, okay, you're next, okay? Okay, we're not immigrants, so we're not next. And now we have the white farmer who thought that they were going to get the Black Americans in the fields. And then this is all off of Project 2025.
Y'all, I have some mixed feelings about these farmers that are getting screwed over by these tariffs. There's part of me that wants to laugh in their faces and say, congratulations, you got exactly what you voted for, bro. And then there's another side of me that understands that these people are just too simple and don't really understand what they did.
You don't want to hear the price I'm about to give you. I said, well, give it to me anyways. He said, each of those steaks now is going to be $1.74 a piece. I said, well,
double the price.
We can't do that. And that's going to be impossible. So that's just to let you know a little bit of what we're going through out here on our farm and what farmers in general are going through. These tariffs, not the best thing for our country. I voted for Trump.
Now, if you didn't catch that at the end, he said, these tariffs aren't the best thing for our country, and I voted for Trump. These people don't really pay attention to the news. These are people that just listen to what Earl says down at the diner, and he's voted Republican his whole life because they're the party of God. And speaking of God, there are a lot of these farmers that say, you know what, I'm not that worried because God's got this.
Lot of faith, and our faith is in God and not in administration.
In agriculture, there's about 85% of what happens on my farm that is completely out of my control.
Yeah.
So I have to do the very best I can at managing that 15% of inputs and costs and labor and marketing and signing the best contract and doing the best job that I can, and leave the other 85% up to the good Lord. And that's all we can do, whether it's weather or disease or a hailstorm or a pandemic or administration.
They're trying to compare these tariffs to a natural disaster, but this isn't a natural disaster. This was a decision made by one man who is screwing them over. And they're just like, well, it's in the Lord's hands. What can we do? And this, again, is why religion is so dangerous. They're willing to accept financial ruin because the Lord's got this, so I'm not going to be worried about what Trump decides to do. And my friends over at the Cowboy Church told me that God put him in office for a reason. And that's just it. When you think that there's a supernatural force just watching over you at all times, nothing matters. Your family might starve. Well, if that's what God wants, who am I to argue with him? If you don't get your kid vaccinated, they could easily die of a disease that's easily preventable. Well, if that's what the Lord wants, I'm not going to be able to stop him. And that is why religion is one of the most dangerous things on this planet. Because these people have been convinced that they are completely out of control of things that they could completely control if they wanted to. And the sad thing is that we need our farmers, but Darwinism is going to take them all away from us if they don't get away from this Christian nationalist way of thinking. Unfortunately,
the level of determination that has been dedicated to try to ensure that Black Americans do not thrive is not by accident. And that is the reason why Black farmers are being shut out again. While the Trump administration rolls out financial lifelines for white farmers, Black farmers are being left out, overlooked, and pushed closer to extinction. And if it weren't for people like John Boyd Jr. sounding the alarm, this story would stay buried in the soil. Let's talk about history. Black farmers once owned 14% of United States farmland. Today, less than 1.3%. How, Sway? I'll tell you. Generational land theft, discriminatory USDA policies, and a long history of being denied access to the very tools white farmers receive as default. And now, in 2025, the Trump administration is doubling down, offering federal farm credits, subsidies, and contracts almost exclusively to white farmers. And they're doing it in broad daylight. John Boyd Jr. has entered the chat.
My name is John Boyd, founder and president of the National Black Farmers Association.
John Boyd Jr., a fourth-generation American farmer, is out here telling the truth.
You need to rise up and speak out now, not later, because if we don't, they're going to continue to take this country down a pathway that is going to take decades to get away from.
He says it clearly. It's not that we don't want to farm, it's that the system doesn't want us to succeed. Let's be clear. This is not about charity. This is about fairness, about access, about survival. The federal numbers don't lie. In 2021, the Trump administration handed out $26 billion in pandemic farm relief. Black farmers received 0.01% of this relief fund. And in 2025, with new rounds of credits going out, the same pattern is repeating. White farmers are getting bailed out. Black farmers are getting boxed out.
I'm looking for $5 billion in debt relief, and I'm asking the Federal Court of Appeals to reverse the decision and grant 17,000 black and other farmers of color 120% debt relief.
The stakes are higher than food. This isn't just about crop yields or subsidies. This is about land, food justice, generational wealth, and the right to live and work with dignity. Black farmers aren't asking for special treatment. They're asking for equal footing. We can't keep letting politicians toss our people aside while offering refuge and resources to others. Not because they're in greater danger, but because they fit a preferred political narrative. If we care about sustainability, food security, or economic justice, we cannot leave black farmers out of the conversation. Their legacy is American history. Their land is American land, and their fight deserves our full support.
I don't care what they say. I'm not going to stop fighting, and you should not stop fighting in this country.
Peace, y'all.
So I'm a black farmer, and a lot of people are wondering, why are black farmers not panicking like a lot of white farmers? Well, let me explain to you the reasons why. It's because white farmers have been handed everything to them, a lot of them. Not saying all of them, but a good bit of them. And by that I mean this. MLK even pointed out, he says, farmers in the West and the Midwest who were white, they were given land, they were given money, they were given training, they were given a lot. Whereas the black farmers weren't given anything, and the largest civil rights settlement in U.S. history is Pickford v. Glickman, where you had a class action lawsuit, bunch of black farmers all joined the lawsuit, and they won a huge settlement because the USDA was shown to be racist for decades. So because black farmers haven't been given anything, we've been learning to do without, unlike your white farmers. So when things are taken away from you, all your subsidies, all your tax breaks, guess what? You panic. Whereas we've always been going through this shit. So there's problems in privilege.
Down on illegal immigration is starting to affect the Texas agriculture industry. Some farmers say their workers are too scared to show up for work. Fox 4's Casey Stegall spoke with the Texas Agriculture Commissioner about the recent immigration raids. Casey.
Hey, Steve, good to see you. The state Republican Agriculture Commissioner tells me that the stepped-up immigration enforcement is taking a toll on the industry, not just here in Texas, but beyond, while federal immigration authorities say they're only doing their jobs. Just 40 miles or so south of the Dallas hustle and bustle,
row crops, hay production,
sits Lee Calvert's 2,000-acre Ellis County family farm.
My father helps me. Obviously, my little sister helps. My wife, huge help. I've got 3 sons, and they're coming along and doing what they can.
Calvert knows he's lucky not having to rely on farm hands to check the chores off, because those who do say absenteeism among hired migrant help has disrupted their entire operations.
They hear that ICE is coming, or they see somebody from INS roll up. They just don't show up. They're scared to come to work.
Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller tells Fox 4 dairy farmers have been hit the hardest.
But on a dairy, those cows, they never stay milked. You milk them 3 times in a 24-hour period. So if the crew doesn't show up, these dairymen go into panic mode.
Are you a U.S. citizen? We have documents to be here.
Recent video posted to immigration rights groups' social media channels shows federal agents conducting raids on California farms. President Trump in the last week briefly paused this type of enforcement within a handful of economic sectors which rely heavily on migrant labor, like agriculture. Then it was back to business.
We're enforcing everywhere. In other words, the president has said if you are an illegal immigrant into this country, you ought to voluntarily go back and come through the proper channels.
Folks like Lee Calvert agree there's no place in America for migrants with violent criminal backgrounds, but wishes there was more gray area.
And I think there needs to be a distinction made in a pathway for the people that do want to come here, obey our laws, integrate into our societies, work in our factories, fields, wherever.
So the U.S. Department of Agriculture estimates that more than 40% of the nation's farm workers are undocumented.
So y'all remember when it was said that we taking all the black jobs? They really thought that we was going to be looking for black jobs, y'all. And I woke up this morning, I was scrolling through TikTok and I saw this guy made a video and I saved it to my favorite so you can go look for it. And he said he was pretending to be MAGA on one of those other apps. He said they were doing a live and the farmers were saying that they thought that the black people would be looking for jobs to work on their farms. Now, you got to be kidding me. Do they think we really looking for farm work? Do they not know that we are educated and we got degrees? And being a farm worker ain't even in the jobs categories that we be looking for. They really don't know how educated some of us are. They don't know how many degrees a lot of us have. They got to be really lost if they think that we want to come and work on their farms. They don't know that our parents and our grandparents growing up wouldn't even let us be outside if it wasn't no shade outside. Do they really think that we gonna work on a farm where ain't no shade trees at? I hate to disappoint y'all, baby, but you gonna have to get somebody else to do it, because we ain't working on nobody's farm. Never. The only way you gonna see black people working on a farm is if they own the farm, because we not working on nobody's farm as no workers. So I hate to disappoint y'all. If y'all thought those was black jobs that black people looking for, honey, you better think again, because black folks that I know got good jobs. We've had a black president, we had a black vice president, we got black senators, we got black congressmen, we got black CEOs, we got black doctors, we got black nurses, we got black psychiatrists, we got a lot of good black jobs. Now, I don't know what y'all thought we was gonna be farm workers for. We don't even want to work in the fast food industry. Those jobs, we don't want those kind of jobs. So, I hate to disappoint you MAGA people, but we don't do farm work. So get somebody else to do it. I would like share comment.
I want to talk about empty grocery shelves. They are coming, and sooner than we think. There's a 3,000 per day immigrant detention quota. 40% of farm workers in the United States are undocumented. You do the math. Farms are an excellent place to find undocumented immigrants to detain and deport, depleting the workforce. And now, those who haven't been rounded up are afraid to show up. Let's look at just one state, Texas. According to farmers, this issue has been affecting their farms for a couple of weeks, but overnight, it bottomed out. On several Texas farms, nearly 100% of farm workers aren't showing up. So what does that mean for you? Remember Trump's comment about having $2 instead of 30? Cows are milked 3 times a day. No workers, no milk, and some very unhappy cows. What if your grocery store, instead of getting 30 gallons of milk, gets 2? 28 families will not be able to buy milk. Now extrapolate that among produce. Produce that instead of being harvested is rotting on the vine. Texas is one of the top 10 producers of 40 major commodities. It is the 4th largest agriculture producer in the nation and 2nd in animal products. And it's not just cows not being milked and produce rotting on the vine. 1 in 7 Texans works in an agriculture-related job. If farms stop working, those jobs are affected. Workers not earning money aren't paying taxes. And yes, undocumented workers pay taxes. Without money coming in, they will cut back on things like restaurants and small businesses, movie theaters, wherever they spend their discretionary income. Last week, Trump ordered a halt to immigration enforcement at farms. But it may already be too late to solve the current problem. The lack of workers now mean farms won't hit full production this year. And if they lose planting now, there is nothing to harvest later. Yet, despite Trump's assurances, a few days after his statement, the administration resumed the raids. Vance says the administration plans to continue clearing the country of undocumented immigrants. Quote, we're enforcing everywhere. In other words, you ought to voluntarily go back and come through the proper channels, unquote. That can literally take years. And frankly, it doesn't protect you from being deported. In the meantime, the question remains, how long are you willing to go without food? Bye, Americans. Have a nice day.
Oh no, this is so sad. There are a bunch of white Texas farmers who are losing their farms right now. Because guess what? 100% of their workforce vanished. Wow. So all those people, who got eyes called on them, they were working on the farms. So now that they're gone, they cannot sustain the farms. You know what's crazy about this video? Because I talked about this like 2 months ago when Trump brought over all these South Afrikaners, farm people, where we find out that they were not really even farmers. And I was talking about this and found out that a few of our dear white farmers here had started losing their farms because of promises that were made to them and was not kept by this administration. So now it's trickling down to some other farmers because now their workforce, they're gone. And I was seeing somewhere where somebody came over, and it was a Caucasian man. He came over from Twitter and he was like, y'all, a lot of these farmers, white farmers, they thought that black people were going to come and work for their farms. There's a lot going on in this country right now. Us heading into possibly World War II. But this is a conversation just to kind of talk about right now, that people are kind of seeing I guess, what's the word? I can't even find the word, but the decisions that they made, they are coming back to hunt them. Let's just say that. So sorry to hear this, but yeah. So I do hope that some of these Native Americans that did lose their lands, that they do get back some of these farms that are being lost.
I'm seeing all these videos right now where all these farmers are crying about not getting no help right now. You know what? Let me ask you something. When have you ever heard of a black farmer crying about it? Never. And you want to know why? Because they ain't never got no help in the first place. That's right. USDA's literally admitted to discriminating against black farmers. And literally black farmers had to sue, thousands of them, to get what white farmers are handed for free. And fast forward to today, all these farmers crying that they can't get no help. You see, black farmers, they've been struggling. Y'all just now feeling what they've been feeling for over 100 years. Black farmers, they used to own over 19 million acres of land. But guess what? Systematic racism, denied loans, shady politicians, and legal loopholes wiped them all out. Yeah. And now they're 1% of America's farmland. When the government finally tried to pass relief for the black folk back in 2021, white farmers sued to block it, claimed it was reverse discrimination. Make that make sense. So, you know, next time you see folks complaining about farm aid, why don't you ask them, where's the help for the black farmers? Ask them why their struggle is just now important when others have been suffering for centuries.
So I just saw this video of this white man who's not MAGA, by the way, or at least he says he's not, but because he damn sure selling the look. But he says he has a fake account over on Twitter, and he joined this group of white farmers, and he's pretending to be MAGA just to see what they're talking about. So apparently they had this group chat or group call where the white MAGA farmers were upset and saying the only reason why they voted for shitty britches was because they thought the blacks didn't have jobs and the blacks would come back and work their fields. They thought they were going to get slavery back by voting for shitty britches. But they have been saying loud and proud with their chest that immigrants were taking their jobs. Yet, there are a couple of farms here in Texas that overnight lost 100% of their workforce. But immigrants was taking their jobs, right? Racism is expensive, huh?
Farms in deep red Texas are shut down, and Donald Trump is the reason. Now, as you know, Donald Trump has shifted ICE from focusing on criminal immigrants to going after easier targets such as job sites to pump his numbers up. But farms are hurting because of this, as many of their workers are either being deported or not showing up for fear of being caught up in these raids. And because of this, they're essentially shut down and no work can be done. Just take a listen to one farmer.
3 weeks it started to slow, but this last week or so has been huge. That's when it's like 0 people wanting to come out and
yeah, 0 people going to work the farms. And while yes, these farmers are in the find out phase, we're all going to be in it, because they're talking that our food supply is going to be shut down or have major interruptions. And it's not just Texas, it's California and Washington. We are finding out that yes, immigrants do help the American economy. Immigrants are part of the American fabric. We just didn't realize it till it was too late.
And there's reports now that some farmers have 100% of their workers not showing up, and they're being forced to shut down. In South Texas, they grow grapefruit, they grow oranges, lots of different citrus varieties, leafy greens, onions, potatoes, peppers. So not only are the prices of what we can get going to go up at the grocery store, but also there's going to be massive food waste if there's nobody picking these crops when they're ready to be picked. I hope MAGA likes a diet of strictly processed foods.
That's fine. We're just going to burn the fucking crops. Fuck it. Let everybody starve.
Jerry Spencer turned to unemployed Americans, but says after 2 weeks, most couldn't cope.
The farmer says, start over here and end over here. And that was the extent of their instructions. With the American workers, they all had to be taught all this and separate. And in addition to the fact that their bodies just were not built for it.
Texas is continuing the F around and find out stage. Guess what just hit 0 before Donald Trump's approval rating? Right there. Farm labor attendance, 0. Entire fields, whole crews are ghosting fields, leaving fruits and vegetables to rot because the Donald Trump administration is too busy playing cat and mouse with people who just want to feed America. To the MAGA people who are saying that immigrants are taking your job, this right here is your opportunity. Pick yourselves up by the bootstraps, get those buckets, and pick those strawberries. No more hiding behind those welfare checks that are padded behind blue state dollars. You wanted the raids, you got them. Now get in those fields and pick those fruits and vegetables before you watch the produce aisle turn to a luxury boutique section. Chop, chop, MAGA. And that's it.
Immigrant farm workers are not showing up on farms in the Rio Grande Valley in Texas, Florida,
and California. In Texas, in particular, in the Rio Grande Valley, they produce many crops needed around the country, such as grapefruit, corn, citrus, oranges, all the vegetables, tomatoes, carrots, cabbage, onions are all grown here. And guess what? The undocumented workers are not showing up there. They're not showing up here in Florida, and they're not showing up in California. Now, I can hear you all say, you don't care, you're glad they're getting them. They're breaking the law, number one. They are criminals. They're not criminals. They are violating a civil violation, which is a fine or a penalty. It is not criminal, unlike the felon in the White House. That's a criminal. You will be complaining when you see no fruit, vegetables, and other crops in our grocery stores to eat. You will care when you see the prices escalate even higher. Isn't that the reason y'all supposedly voted for Trump? Because he was going to bring the prices down, and y'all could only complain about everything under Biden. I don't hear y'all complaining about these out of control prices anymore that we continue to see everywhere thanks to Donald Trump. And all the prices that we've seen go up because of the trade deals or no trade deals and the tariffs. Well, guess what? These prices are going up. Thank you, Donald Trump. You and Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is such a genius. You know, he is the whole reason that we're having this whole problem, because he is so anti-immigrant. And by the way, his family came from Europe. They were persecuted as immigrants. And Elon, whoops, did I say Elon? I did say Elon. Elon, how do you like hanging out with Stephen's wife? What do you think? Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, and my burned out light bulbs. What do you all think? Only going to cost us more money, and to accomplish what? This is not a solution. It is the problem. Donald Trump and Stephen Miller are the problem. Hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, and my burned out light bulbs. Let me know what you think. You like these higher prices and the food shortages you're going to see if this continues, and it's going to continue. They're not going to show up.
So now that I have fallen down this rabbit hole, I just jumped onto Twitters, and I got an alt Twitter where I pretend to be a MAGA guy, and I saw a live, and I am not kidding you. This dude, all these dudes these farmer dudes in there, these farm owner dudes, they're saying, well, we thought the blacks would come back and do the jobs because they don't have jobs. Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, but black people have jobs, and you thought you were getting your slaves back is basically what you were saying. That's what you thought. It's still going right now, and I'm not going to post a link to it because I don't want to give these people a voice. But they think they're in a safe space on Twitter. They're not.
They thought black people were going to go get them jobs in the field. Since the migrants are gone, we ain't got no jobs, so we gonna go back in the field and pick. That's what they thought. Oops. We worked for free in this country for 290 years. We ain't picking nothing for y'all. Y'all better get y'all white folks out there and go pick them fruits and them vegetables and take care of them cattle and the chickens. We not going out there. But I made a video. I can't find the shit, damn it. But I made a video when this all started, and I said they think black people are going to go back and work in the fields. That's why Donald Trump said they are taking black jobs. They think that's what we're supposed to go do. And they're finding out real quick, black people ain't coming. Y'all can hold your breath on that one. We ain't picking shit for y'all. We will grow our own vegetables and take care of our own selves. We not going to them fields. Y'all better figure out what y'all want to do about this immigration policy and these mass deportations, or white folks, get your ass out there and go pick your own goddamn food. But we ain't coming.
So we're shutting down our market farm. We've officially decided to close the doors to our farm store and market farm. We just notified all of our customers yesterday. That may come as a shock to you, and some of you may be like, well, why are you doing that? There's many reasons. Ultimately, it comes down to we don't feel like the time input for the return is worth it. There's only so much time in a day. I've got several other businesses that just demand my time. I'm a real estate.
My opinion concerning this is that there is a labor shortage and immigration enforcement. The white people, white Americans is the dominant group in America, especially in agriculture. And the white people, they're from Texas, they were used to the immigrants working for them. And now that the immigrants are not showing up to work, because of the ICE department, which is getting rid of the immigrants. The white farmers are the one who voted for Trump, and now they're the one who are suffering because of what they did to the black people. They are desperately looking for the black people, telling them to come and help them, telling them to come and work with them. There is a massive food destruction, and there is also food shortage because no one is coming to pick up the crops in the farms. And also in the grocery stores, there is scarcity of food, and this means there will be an increase in the food prices. The white people should do what is best for the country and not for the politicians, because they are the one that they are suffering right now. Businesses are literally closing down, and also the farms in Texas are shutting down in increasingly rate, mainly because the workforce has been vanished by 100% over the night. Mostly the supply chain is what that is being affected. What are your thoughts about this story? Kindly comment down below, share, like, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Stay woke. Until next time, stay grounded.